Now for the kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. Very little is given here because these have separate chapter. So kingdom Plantae includes all the eukaryotic chlorophyll containing organisms commonly called as plant. A few members are partially heterotrophic such as insectivorous plants or parasites. Bladderwort and Venus flytraps are examples of insectivorous plants, and Cuscuta is example of parasite. The plant cells have an eukaryotic structure with a prominent chloroplast and a cell wall mainly made of cellulose. You'll study these eukaryotic cells in the detail chapter 8. Plant includes algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. Life cycle of a plant has two distinct phases: the diploid sporophytic, the diploid sporophytic, and the haploid gametophytic that alternate with each other. The lengths of the haploid and diploid phases and whether these phases are free living or dependent on the others vary among different groups in plants. This phenomenon is called alternation of generation. You will study these in further detail chapter number 3. Now the kingdom Animalia. This kingdom is characterized by heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms that are multicellular and their cells lack cell walls. They directly or indirectly depend on plants for food. They digest their food in an internal cavity and store the food reserves as glycogen or fat. Their mode of nutrition is holozoic. By ingestion of food, they follow a definite growth pattern and grow into adults that have a definite shape and size. Higher forms show elaborate sensory and neurosensory and neuromotor mechanism. Most of them are capable of locomotion. The sexual reproduction by copulation of male and female, followed by embryological development. Salient features of the flora given description 4. Now the viruses, viroids and lichens. In the 5 kingdom classification of Whittaker, there is no mention of some acellular organisms like viruses and viroids and lichens. These are briefly introduced here. All of us who have suffered the ill effects of the common cold or flu know what effects viruses can have on us, even if we do not associate it with our condition. Viruses do not find a place in the classification since they are not truly living. If we understand living as those organisms that have a cell structure, the viruses are non-cellular organisms that are characterized by having an inert crystalline structure outside the cell. Once they infect a cell, they take over the machinery of the host to replicate themselves, killing the host. Would you call viruses living or नॉन लिविंग? ठीक है, अब हिस्ट्री का काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट यहाँ पे सेक्शन आ रहा है इसके अंदर, इसमें से क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं. The name virus that means venom or poisonous fluid was given by Pasteur. DJ Vanovsky 1892 1892 देखो 1908 साल पहले recognize certain microbes. तो DJ Vanovsky तो चलो name virus given by Pasteur. DJ Vanovsky recognized certain microbes as causative organisms of the mosaic disease of tobacco. These were found to be smaller than bacteria-proof because they passed through bacteria-proof filters. M.W. Bijarnik 1898 demonstrated that the extract of the infected plants of tobacco could cause infection in healthy plants and called the fluid as Contagium vivum fluidum, infectious living fluid. फिर W.M. Stanley in 1935 showed that viruses could be crystallized and the crystals consist of largely of proteins. They are inert outside the specific host. Viruses are obligate parasites. In addition to proteins, viruses also contain genetic material that could be either RNA or DNA. No virus contains both RNA and DNA. A virus is a nucleoprotein and the genetic material is infectious. In general, viruses that infect plants have single-stranded RNA and viruses that infect animals have either single or double-stranded RNA or double-stranded DNA. Bacterial viruses or bacteriophages, viruses that infect bacteria are usually double-stranded DNA viruses. Okay, the bacterial viruses or bacteriophages are usually double-stranded DNA viruses. The protein coat called capsid, made up of small subunits called capsomers, protect the nucleic acid. The protein coat called capsid made of small subunits called capsomers protect the nucleic acid. These capsomers are arranged in helical or polyhedral geometric forms. Viruses causes disease like mumps, smallpox, herpes, and influenza. AIDS in humans also caused by a virus. In plants, the symptoms can be mosaic formation, rolling and curling, yellowing, and vein clearing, dwarfing, and stunted growth. बात करते हैं वायरस की. In 1971, Theo Daner discovered a new infectious agent that was smaller than a virus and caused potato spindle tuber disease. Potato spindle tuber disease. It was found to be a free RNA. That is, it lacked the protein coat that is found in viruses. Protein coat भी गायब हो गया. Hence the name viroid. The RNA of the viroid was of low molecular weight. RNA भी इसका low molecular weight का था. Lichens. Lichens are the symbiotic associations, that is mutually useful associations between algae and the fungi. The algal component is known as the phycobiont and the fungal component known as the mycobiont, which are autotrophic and heterotrophic respectively. Algae prepare food for fungi and the fungi provide shelter and absorb mineral nutrients and water for its partner. So close is their association that if one saw a lichen in nature, one would never imagine that they had two different organisms within them. Lichens are very good pollution indicators. They do not grow in the polluted areas.